Are bear attacks in Japan on the rise, or is this a case of increased awareness? Could it be changes in bear habitats, shifts in human activity? Does Japan have a bear problem that needs an effective management strategy to keep both the bears and people safe? Hit like and subscribe. This is Fierce. In just 6 months, between April and October 2023, Japan saw 158 injuries and 2 deaths from bear attacks. This was an unprecedented number. Incidents with bears aren't uncommon in Japan, but they typically occur in the countryside when people are foraging for wild vegetables and herbs. Either the bear is surprised and attacks defensively, or is protecting its own food source. But in 2023, the bears were leaving the mountains and countryside and venturing into the towns and cities. No one was safe. In one day alone, 6 people were attacked in the suburbs, thought to be by the same bear. The attack started at 6:40 a.m. on October 19, 2023, in and around Akita Prefecture. A black bear ambled through the surrounding woodland, making its way down the forested mountainside toward civilization. It was hungry. There was a lack of food in its natural habitat, and the smells and sounds from the nearby urbanization was tantalizing. The scent of food cooking wafted out through home windows, and the stench from rotting garbage carried on the air. It hadn't ventured this far before, but this time it was desperate to find a food source. The bear walked purposefully toward the town, each footstep powerful and deliberate. It spotted its first victim, a woman making her way to work early in the morning. It locked its eyes on her, and first it watched from a distance. But then it decided to make a move. It thundered towards her, and she jumped when she saw the bear coming for her. It leapt onto the woman and bit down on her skull. The power from the bite was incredible, and it felt like the skull was going to crack under the pressure. But her screams seemed to startle the bear, and seconds later it leapt off the victim and trotted away. Within 40 minutes, it had attacked 4 women in the town. Each of them was rushed to the hospital with significant head and facial injuries. The hospital was shocked at the people coming in with attack wounds, and they knew there was a bear on the loose that would stop at nothing. Authorities were called, but they couldn't immediately track down the bear, and it continued on its warpath. The next victim on its rampage involved taking down an 83-year-old woman. The weight of the bear floored the elderly woman, and she cried out for help as it mauled her. Luckily, the bear was spooked by the sounds of the town and ran away shortly afterwards, just as it had done so before. But the attack left the lady in bad shape. She was airlifted to a hospital in Akita City, suffering a broken arm and hip, as well as multiple puncture wounds from the sharp teeth. She was lucky to be alive. Then, from someone in the older generation to someone much younger. 20 minutes after its attack on the senior, a schoolgirl was waiting at a bus stop when she spotted the bear walking toward her. Every fiber in her body was telling her to flee, but she was frozen to the spot. Even as the bear locked eyes with her, she hoped that it wouldn't notice her and would walk on by. But the bear continued to approach the bus stop. The bear didn't run, it didn't charge, but it walked directly towards her. There was nowhere for the girl to go. There was no one around who could help her. Her eyes grew wide as the bear walked straight up to the girl. She tried to turn away from it in an attempt to protect herself from an imminent attack, but the bear opened its jaws and grabbed her arm. She screamed. The bear pulled at her, almost yanking her off her feet. It shook its head from side to side. She thought it was going to drag her away. She thought it was going to devour her then and there. But, just like with the previous attacks, it became spooked by something, and as quickly as it had grabbed her arm, it let go and walked away. Despite being terrified, the shocked girl managed to get help. She was yet another victim who was hospitalized by the bear that day. And she wasn't the only school student targeted by the marauding bear. A junior high school girl was also targeted. The bear stalked her from behind as she made her way home after classes. She was unaware of the large black bear trailing her along the street. She was just moments from her house when it suddenly pounced on her. It then dove on top of her, growling and grunting as he mauled her head and neck. She tried to fight back. She kicked and scrambled about underneath the enormous animal. Mercifully, it didn't kill the young girl, and she survived the attack. The attacks that happened that day sent shockwaves through the community. Nobody felt safe anymore. Authorities told people to be vigilant and to keep their doors and windows shut. 3 of the incidents took place in a business district outside a popular train station, near to where retail outlets, homes, and a hospital are located. It is perhaps the last place you would expect to be attacked by a bear, but it seemed that this one in particular was on the warpath. And it wasn't the only one that day. Just over the border in Hachimantai, Iwate Prefecture, a man and a woman were gathering mushrooms in the woodland when a bear approached. They didn't notice it at first. Its eyes stared at the couple crouched down low as they picked the mushrooms and placed them in their baskets. It was partially hidden by the trees and bushes. It watched intently before proceeding forward. It launched its attack when it was just yards from the couple. It charged forward, its powerful paws thundering across the forest floor. When it leapt onto the woman, she was pinned to the ground and the bear began mauling her, biting her face and clawing her body. She screamed for help. Her friend, a man in his 70s, tried to scare the bear away. He threw sticks at it and shouted loudly and clapped his hands. Then he ran at it. That's when it turned on him. One swipe of its paw and he was knocked to the ground, bruised and dazed. When he came around and got back up to his feet, he saw the bear dragging the woman away, and he ran to call the police. When officers arrived on the scene, they were too late. The bear had killed the woman. The shocking attacks sent alarm bells ringing through the town. Previously, bear attacks were only heard of when people ventured into their habitat, either hiking or foraging for wild food. But now the boundaries between bear habitat and human-populated areas seemed blurred. Experts believe that the previous year's bumper crop of acorns and beech nuts meant that bear cubs did exceptionally well and grew into large yearlings. But this year's harvest was less due to unfavorable weather conditions, and the bears were now struggling to find enough food. As the bears become more desperate, so too do the people. Some shops in Japan have seen a steep rise in sales of bear preventive measures, such as bear spray, portable radios, whistles, and bells that are worn to alert bears to your presence. Despite this, 1/5 of the victims who were attacked in 2023 were wearing bells at the time. Worryingly, more than half of the attacks occurred in people's homes, where people were unprepared and least expecting a confrontation with a dangerous wild animal. Does Japan have a bear problem that needs an effective management strategy to keep both the bears and people safe?